Most places on Earth were built to accommodate us. Siberia never got that instruction. Think about a place so huge it covers almost 10 million square kilometers, larger than all of Europe. A place where frozen rivers snake for thousands of kilometers, where taiga forests seem to go on forever, and where mountains rise like silent giants above valleys untouched by roads or towns. A place where the word extreme takes its full meaning. Summers last only a short while. Winters are brutal, even lethal when temperatures drop below -60 degrees Celsius. A place where silence isn't the absence of sound. It's a weight. Almost no one lives here, not because it's unreachable, but because only few can survive these conditions. In an age where everything is mapped, filmed, connected, Siberia remains almost untouched, unreal. This is the last place on Earth that doesn't need us to exist, and somehow that makes it impossible to look away. West Siberian Plain. The West Siberian Plain lies in the heart of Russia and stretches from the Ural Mountains in the west toward the Ob River and beyond to the Yenisei River in the east. It is one of the largest flat landscapes on Earth, with land so level that rivers move slowly and water spreads everywhere. Despite its size, few people travel deep into it. The plains reach far north, where the cold freezes the ground, and sprawling southward into forests and grasslands. Here the land seems endless and quiet, and life unfolds far from the bustle of big cities like Novosibirsk or Omsk. What few travelers see first are the vast wetlands that define this plain. After long winters, the ice melts and water spreads over long distances. Millions of tiny lakes and bogs appear, stretching to the horizon. These waters are not still puddles. They are part of the giant Vashugan swamp, the largest peatland in the northern hemisphere. Walking near its edges at quiet dawn feels like entering another world. Mist rises from dark surfaces of peat-rich water. Tall reeds and moss-white bogs stretch far. It feels like nature paused in a slow, ancient rhythm that few humans have touched. Here, rivers move slowly and seem to hesitate before joining others. The Ob and Irtysh River wind in lazy curves through the plain, cutting wide floodplains that fill with water each spring. Sandbars rise in the warm months, and near them, tall grasses sway in gentle breezes. You can watch silent herons step carefully along shallow edges and hear distant calls of migrating waterbirds resting before they continue long journeys across continents. Deeper into the wetlands, the Ugansky Nature Reserve remains a place of quiet secrets. Wooded islands rise above the bogs, their pines and spruces dark against pale moss. In these woods, the air feels cool, even in summer. Walking among moss-covered trunks, you might glimpse a flash of brown as a moose disappears into thick brush, or hear the soft rustle of a lynx moving through fallen leaves. is a timeless feel to these forests because so few people ever walk their paths. At dusk, the reeds shift and the marsh exhales cold air that can sting lungs and make your hands go numb in minutes. A careless step can leave a person injured and far from help. In northern reaches, the plain touches snow and frost, longer than in the south. Long cold winters lock water into ice, and in spring, the melt begins a slow transformation. Waters rise, insects emerge, and the land becomes a patchwork of blues, greens, and browns. Here, reindeer may appear at the edge of tree lines, and wolves sometimes leave tracks in fresh mud near rivers. The plain seems alive with quiet motion if you watch long enough. In sudden deep cold, a lost traveler can face fatal hypothermia within hours. The body gives out, and rescuers may not arrive in time. In the southern belt, near Tomsk and Omsk, you find different patterns. There the floodplains widen, and tall reeds and grasses border shallow lakes that form after rains. Waterfowl gather here in numbers that could fill the sky at times. Ducks, swans, and cranes circle overhead, then drop in a soft falling line onto shining waters. It can feel like the whole sky is aware of this waterland below. Central Siberian Plateau. Now, we leave the endless lowlands behind and begin climbing into uplands where rivers carve deep valleys. The Central Siberian Plateau rises where land begins to climb away from the flat, water-filled world of the West Siberian Plain. It sits between the Yenisei River on the west and the vast river system of the Lena River on the east, stretching over a huge area of uplands and hills that feel distant from most human paths. The ground here moves up and down in gentle rises and sharp valleys instead of lying flat. It spreads across broad spaces of northern Russia that see cold thunder into winter and wind walk freely over ridges where snow gathers deeply each year. The plateau is one of the great landscapes of Siberia, a land shaped by slow rivers and ancient rock, yet little known beyond scientific journals or the eyes of long-distance adventurers. The first thing a visitor notices is the wide river valleys that cut through silent uplands. Rivers like the Kochechum thread through the land with slow grace, their waters lined by dark forests and moss-covered rock. Trees here cling to life along riverbanks, reaching up from soggy soil, while further upslope, there are only scattered shrubs and lichen under thin snow in long seasons of cold. Olga drawings from satellites show the river's carving patterns into the plateau ground, like veins on pale skin, with dark green woods patching the hollows in summer and silver ice masking everything in winter. When wind hits an exposed ridge, the sound can make your chest tighten. People say the air carries old stories and old danger. In places where the plateau is higher, The hills seem quiet and empty at first glance, but walk for a few hours and the land begins to reveal its hidden world. You notice the way light falls on rock faces at dawn and dusk, making the stone glow with soft pinks and reds. Small lakes sit in hollows between rounded highs, their surfaces broken only by a lone duck or the echo of a distant bird call. In late summer, the meadows between hills are dotted with wildflowers that survive short warm days, tiny blossoms that hold their color against cooling breezes. Where the plateau is furthest north, the Putorana Plateau stands separate like a forgotten world of cliffs and water. This part of the plateau rises higher and is carved deeply by rivers into sharp valleys and waterfalls that rush down rocky faces. Thousands of waterfalls drop into pools so clear you can see stones beneath the surface. Lakes nestle in folds of rock that change color with the shifting light of long summer days, and the silence here seems unbroken by human sound for miles. Some of these waters drain slowly toward larger river systems. Others stay trapped in deep basins untouched by wind. On a clear night, the cold can bite through layers. Simple breath turns to frost, and small mistakes in shelter or fire tend to become a crisis. The climate here is harsh. Long winters stretch with cold so deep it makes stones creak, and summer arrives for only a few short months before frost begins again. Nights are long and dark in winter, and the stars seem close enough to touch. When wind sweeps across the high ground, it can raise dust and snow together in shifting waves. But in summer, the plateau softens, rivers mirror the sky, and slight breezes carry the smell of water and earth. Under warm light, the land opens its shapes to the eye, and every bend in a river or dip in a hill has a kind of simple beauty. The ground here holds rich minerals below the surface, and that gives parts of the plateau a strange shimmer when sunlight hits open rock. Near the industrial center of Norilsk, you can see dark scars of mining cutting into hillsides, but move away from that into the high uplands and hidden valleys, and the plateaus look as they did long before maps reached them. In these places, water still runs clear into long river systems, fish move beneath still surfaces, and birds trace slow circles against silent skies. What many people do not see are the deep grooves carved into earth by centuries of water and frost. From high ridges, the valleys look like arms reaching into the heart of the land. In winter, these valleys are white and still. In spring, they flood with meltwater that feeds rivers winding toward distant seas. The earth beneath thawing layers reveals pools that glint in sunlight. These are places where few have walked, where snow lies thick most of the year, and where each season paints the plateau in a new palette of subtle colors. Eastern Siberian Mountains. Next, we head east, where the land rises sharply into rugged mountains, reaching toward the Pacific. The Eastern Siberian Mountains rise where land stops being flat and begins to lift toward the far edge of Asia. East of the Lena River, rocky ridges and high peaks stretch out in long chains toward the Pacific coast. These mountains include the Verkhoyansk Mountains, the Chersky Range, and the Stanovoy Range. Few roads cross this region. Snow and ice lie on many slopes for most of the year, and the emptiness feels deep and slow, as if you have stepped away from maps and into a land that hardly changes at all. This is where land reaches upward, where river valleys drop sharply into cold shadows, and where every ridge seems endless in the distance. Here, a sudden drop in temperature can cause severe frostbite in minutes. Fingers and toes freeze, skin darkens, and small wounds become gateways for deeper damage. The first thing your eyes catch in these mountains is how rugged and raw the land feels. Peaks rise like broken walls against the sky, sharp at the top and softer lower down, with forests of dark needles clinging to ledges. In summer, the air is still cold, and in winter, it drops far below what most people imagine cold to be. Here, near scattered settlements, temperatures have sunk into the lowest ranges ever recorded in inhabited places on Earth. Snow hangs on slopes late into the warm months, and frost thaws only on sheltered rocks near streams. A quiet stillness sits over valleys where few people ever walk, and the wind moves unbothered across open ice. In the Verkhoyansk Mountains, ridges stretch for hundreds of miles, curving like giant waves frozen in place. These mountains feel ancient and quiet. Moss and lichen grow in soft patches where soil holds water, and in sheltered hollows you can see tiny wild flowers that survive short summers between snowdrifts. Rivers cut deep into the stone here, creating narrow gorges through which cold water rushes even in the height of summer. The ground seems to echo with ages of weather and wind, as if every rock remembers a different season, long past. Further east, the Chersky Range stands tall and distant. From afar, its peaks rise like sharp teeth against the sky, each summit touched by snow and ice. In deep gullies between ridges, narrow rivers thread through rock that feels older than time itself. These streams sparkle brightly on sunny days, their water borne from melting snow high above, moving steadily toward distant lowlands. When clouds gather, Grey shapes slide down slopes and make shadows dance over valleys, turning the rough land into shifting scenes of quiet contrasts. The cold here works on the chest, heavy breathing, tight lungs, and a risk of pulmonary stress when ice-thin air meets heavy exertion. Between steep slopes and high ridges, you can find hidden valleys where summer light stays longer. In these low patches, you might see herds of reindeer grazing softly on mossy ground. Their coats blend with grass that bends in gentle breezes. Fox tracks run across wet soil after rain. Birds with speckled feathers sit on rocky perches, watching cold rivers glint below. Sometimes in the still air near dawn, you can hear the cry of a distant bird as it moves through stone corridors toward water that seems far yet close. Southern Siberian Mountains. The Southern Siberian Mountains climb up from the rolling plains and flatlands of central Siberia into a region where rock rises sharply, valleys deepen, and water gathers in hidden basins between ridges. This is the part of Siberia where land begins to feel vertical, where mountain systems form a natural boundary between Russia and Mongolia, China, and Kazakhstan. The ranges here, the Altai Mountains, the Sayan Mountains, and the Baikal Mountains, are not quiet hills on a map. They are wild uplands where forests soak up clouds, snowfields linger into summer, and lakes lie so still that sky becomes water, and water becomes sky in reflection. In these mountains, you can feel time pass slowly in layers of rock, water, and wind that few travelers truly reach. The land here is rugged, old, and filled with stories that rise out of valleys and climb up to high peaks. In the Altai Mountains, stone ridges rise quickly from wide valleys of grass and forest, and rivers flow strong between slopes where larches and pines hold deep green well into autumn. This range is part of the Golden Mountains of Altai, a UNESCO World Heritage Site that covers high peaks, deep valleys, and forests that change slowly with the seasons. Here, Mount Belukha stands among the highest peaks at over 4,500 meters, its sides shaped by ancient glaciers and hidden snowfields. Around it flows the Katun River, fed by icy streams that tumble from higher ground, creating pools and small waterfalls that glint brightly in sunshine. Walk through a valley near these waters at dawn, and you may hear the trills of birds that live between tree and rock, or see herds of marrow deer moving slowly among tall grasses. The forests here also shelter brown bears, lynx, and wolverines that slip through trees without noise, their brown and gray coats blending perfectly with stone and shadow. Within this same mountain world, the Ukok Plateau lies like an open floor above deep valleys. Grasslands stretch here where wind moves without interruption, and snow leopards sometimes slip across rocky ground, almost invisible against the stone. Argali mountain sheep balance on steep ledges, their curved horns sweeping back towards sky as if shaped by wind itself. Eagles soar above in slow, silent circles, and steppe eagles sweep low over grass, waiting for movement below. When you stand here at sunrise, the horizon seems to sit far beyond reach, and all you hear is the whisper of grass and the distant murmur of water moving through narrow channels of rock. The Sayan Mountains form another set of uplands farther east. These mountains fold and bend like great ridges pushing toward the heart of Asia. High ridges appear rough and steep, with narrow passes that feel colder and quieter than lower ground. In the eastern Sayan, across ridges and deep valleys, you can see rivers cutting white paths through dark stone, showing where water has slowly carved its way down. Peaks like Mount Munku Sadik, rising above 3,400 meters, stand like old watchmen, their jagged tops crowned with snow even in warm months. Valleys carved by these mountains hold quiet life in hidden places. Red deer and grey wolves move between trees at dusk, and golden eagles sit silently on high perches, waiting for movement in valleys below. Away from ridges and high slopes, the Baikal Mountains rise above the shores of Lake Baikal, the deepest lake on the planet and a place of stark water beauty. Here the mountains feel like guardians of billions of tons of water collected over ages. Slopes drop toward shore in ribbons of green forest that turn gold and amber in autumn, and rocky ridges reach toward the sky above deep blue water that never seems still. Along quiet coves, the smell of pine and earth moves with gentle breezes, and old paths worn by animals and travelers curve through forests that slope down toward shore. Wild rivers fan out from this range into smaller streams that gather water high up in alpine meadows before they run fast and clear toward the lake. In summer, the shores of Baikal fill with birds like herring gulls and black-throated divers, as small fish like grayling and taimen weave beneath rippled surface. In winter, the lake's edges harden into translucent ice that sometimes breaks into long sheets across coves where only footsteps or the faint echo of distant wildlife disturb the pure quiet. Russian Siberia far east. Now we follow the mountains toward the horizon and step into the far eastern reaches where fire, ice, and ocean converge. The Russian Far East stretches all the way from the endlessly cold plains of Siberia toward the Pacific Ocean. This remote sweep of land includes the Kamchatka Peninsula, the long Sakhalin Island, and the coastal reaches of Primorsky Krai. Most maps show only few roads here. Beyond them lie volcanic mountains, deep forests, endless rivers, and coastal waters filled with life. This is where land meets ocean, where fire rises from below, and where water moves in slow, powerful rhythms few outside Russia's Far East ever see. It feels vast, wild, and deeply alive in every direction. Here the Siberian taiga prowls, the largest wild cat on Earth. Its thick coat and wide paws are built to move across snow and shadow. You might feel both fear and excitement when you notice fresh taiga footprints in the soft mud. On the Kamchatka Peninsula, volcanic giants rise from forests and tundra like ancient sentinels. More than 300 volcanoes dot this land, and about 29 of them are still active, pouring smoke and heat into air that feels cold even in summer. Among them, Klyuchevskaya Sopka reaches about 4,754 meters high and is the tallest active volcano in Eurasia. It appeared around 7,000 years ago and has erupted often throughout history. Some eruptions send ash plumes miles into the sky, and lava makes slow, glowing rivers on the slopes. Near it stand other powerful cones like Shiveluch, with summit heights over 3,300 meters, and Koryaksky, towering over the sea near the city of Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky. These volcanic works shape valleys, lakes, and rivers, and the entire peninsula feels caught between fire beneath and wind above. A tiger breathing quietly behind a pile of snow or steam rising from the ground with a sharp hissing sound like a warning. These small moments can make your body tense and your heart beat faster. Mountain springs flow into long rivers that cut their way down rocky slopes. Waterfalls leap off stone shelves. Lakes like Lake Kronotskoye lie deep in volcanic basins, reflecting peaks on still mornings. Far from towns, the only sound may be the rush of cold water and the distant call of birds. Forests of moss and lichen cling to hillsides where brown bears move quietly in spring, feasting on salmon that swim upstream each season. Around rivers, the world's largest abundance of salmonids makes life here rich and noisy when fish return to spawn. Streams bristle with pink, chum, sockeye, and coho salmon that climb rocky steps to reach their breeding grounds. Brown bears here are huge in number, estimated in the tens of thousands, larger than populations found almost anywhere else on Earth. They roam freely, sometimes near rivers' edges, moving slowly into forest shadows after a day of feeding. Eagle species like the Stella's sea eagle, one of the largest eagles in the world, glide over beaches and estuaries, eyeing the water for fish. Sea otters move playfully among kelp lines along rocky shores. Whales, including blue whales, pass offshore in waters warmed by currents, adding another layer of life to this rugged place. If you sit quietly in a hidden cove at dawn and watch the coast wake up, you may feel a strange mix of joy and fear. The water moves slowly, and the light spreads across the water. In that calm moment, the place feels very alive. Every small sound makes you look around, and you stay alert, as if the land and ocean are watching you just as closely as you are watching them. Farther west, the long stretch of Sakhalin Island lies between the Sea of Okhotsk and the Sea of Japan. This elongated landscape spans nearly 950 kilometers in length and mixes mountains, forests, and coastal land in ways few people notice. Dense taiga forests dominate much of the island, with towering spruce, fir, and larch trees shading mossy ground underfoot. In summer, berry-laden bushes scatter reds and purples through cool, green woods. Deep valleys hold streams that trickle to the sea, and rugged cliffs on the eastern coast plunge into cold blue water. Along its shores, seals and sea lions relax on rock ledges and dive into emerald waters. The rare Sakhalin taimen grows in these rivers. It is one of the largest salmon species in the world and can live for many years in cold, clear water. Seeing one in the wild is extremely uncommon. When it moves slowly beneath the surface, it can feel like watching a survivor from another age of the river. Sakhalin's wildlife is rich and varied. Brown bears and Eurasian river otters move quietly through forests. The rare Sakhalin taimen, a huge salmon species, still swims in river systems here, alongside other salmonids. Near coastal bluffs, birds like the Nordmann's greenshank and Sakhalin leaf warbler make their home amid sea winds. Even the Sakhalin musk deer, hard to spot, lingers in deep woods and valleys. To the southwest, Primorsky Krai spreads out along the Sea of Japan in broad hills and coastal cliffs. Hills rise gently to meet ocean beaches that feel warmer than most Russian coasts, with waters reaching pleasant degrees in rare summer months. Around Vladivostok, the coast curves around deep bays, like the iconic Golden Horn Bay, with its islands and hidden coves framed by rocky headlands where light falls like liquid gold at dusk. Small beaches and bays here feel intimate, with salt air and drifting currents creating a sense of open water that seems nearer than land. In Primorsky's forests and mountains, nature moves in quiet layers. The Sakhalin range threads through this region, its forests home to species few places still hold, including the distant fringes of the Taiga, rugged mountain deer, and black bears that disappear into dense undergrowth. Zov Tigra National Park, whose name means Call of the Tiger, offers glimpses of tigers moving through forests where rivers fall into narrow gorges and where mist wraps around hilltops at dawn. Along the coast, in places like Russian Island and Astafyev's Bay, the sea meets hidden beaches and rocky cliffs, framing waters alive with life and light. In this Russian Far East, land and sea feel like parts of one long story. Volcanoes rise with smoke and snow, forests hide the tracks of big beasts, and seas brim with silver fish that feed whole ecosystems. Mountains and islands hold their own rhythms, shaped by wind and water in ways that slow time and stretch horizons nearly beyond belief. It is a place where beauty is vast, silent, and waiting to be seen. If you enjoyed this journey, your support means a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to discover more documentaries like this one.